Hello everyone, my name is Kristi and we're here today to talk about all the books I read in May. May was a great reading month. I am so excited about some of these books. I did have one DNF though. We're gonna start with that. I don't really have much to say, so it's like kind of whatever. But anyway, let's get into it. So the first book I want to talk about, we're gonna get this little downer out of the way and then we will talk about happiness. So I tried Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson on audiobook and I was very intimidated because it's like 24 hours long. But anyway, I got to about 33% in where I just was like, I don't think this book is for me because the graphic violence, it just was just a little too much. I just feel like it just kept going on and on and on about it, and I felt like it could have been, a lot of that could have been cut out because what happened was very purposeful. It was like they were stumbling upon a battle scene that had happened, but it just felt like he was just describing these really disgusting ways that people died, like for fun. Like that's almost what it felt like. So I was just like, if this is how it is and it's like only the beginning of this series, like this probably just isn't for me. I'm sure it's really great and maybe some of you guys out there are just like, that's no big deal to me, like all the violence and the gore and stuff, but yeah, not for me. But I can say that I tried it. It was on my fantasy TBR video that I recently made, so I got that one off my list. Anyway, now to talk about some really happy reads. So another book that was on my fantasy TBR list that it just felt like it was like calling to me to read it. It was so funny and I'm so glad that I did. It's Mortal Queens by Victoria McCombs. And I was so intimidated by this book at first because of the cover, because this is like such a freaky cover and the premise is like, it sounds just a little bit dark kind of thing. And I can tell you it was not this way at all. Like, I feel like this cover is all wrong. In fact, I found another one of her books that has a different cover. It's a little more flowery. It looks like this. I honestly feel like this describes more of the feel of the world than the actual Mortal Queens cover. So yeah, I don't know, like when I actually got into the book, I felt like the world was just very like whimsical and it was about games, it was about figuring out what's going on. This overarching fear of death, it just didn't like hit very hard with me. It was just like kind of this almost like far thing, like, okay, we've got to like figure out all these things in the world of the Fae, but then like, oh yeah, I'm gonna die if I don't figure this out. Like it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't hit very hard, and I didn't personally feel like the cover really matched the feeling I got from the book. Anyway, I had this book on Kindle, and then I discovered about halfway through that it's also on audio, and they were gonna let me listen to it for free with my Audible subscription. And so I was like, okay, so, and I was like, at this point was like, I need to know, and I wasn't gonna be able to read it for a while. So I was like, let me just listen to the audio. And I love the audio production. Like, I think the girl that did her voice and the way she read everything was just perfect. Like, it really brought this world to life. And that being said, who knows, maybe my whole like feeling of like whimsicalness came from the way the narrator was reading it. I don't know, but I didn't really feel that when I was like reading my Kindle either. So anyway, and then when it came time to read the second book, it was just such a cliffhanger that I was like, I just need to know, and I just went ahead and got the audiobook for that one too. And it was great. Like, I loved the ending. I loved how everything wrapped up. The romance in it is very light. I would say it's more heavy on the whole like mystery of like finding out like what's happening to the Mortal Queens, which if you guys didn't see my fantasy video, this book is basically about a girl that lives in the human realm, and every year they choose 2 girls to become the mortal queens in the Fae realm. And everybody thinks that they just kind of like go on and live the rest of their lives in the Fae realm. And when she gets there, she finds out that they're actually dead. Like they only get to live like 2 years in the Fae realm and then they just die. So she's trying to save her life and figure out like what's happening to the mortal queens, why they're dying, like is there anything I can do to stop this? So that's kind of the whole premise of the series. And I just love the characters. I love the way she did this world. I don't usually like books about the Fae very much because I feel like there's just a lot of like deception and like you gotta lie to survive, and that's just not really my thing. But the way Victoria McCombs wrote this, like it didn't feel like quite as, I don't know, like it was there wasn't as much lying going on. Like there were people you could trust. There were people that were telling the truth, and like yes, there was some times where she had to like lie to survive kind of thing, but it wasn't as bad as I've read in other books. I don't know, that's the only way I can describe it. So I really, really enjoyed this world, and I want to read more Victoria McCombs. And so if you're one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I don't know about the Fae world, maybe try this one and see how you like it, because I thought it was really great. All right, next I read a rom-com, which is really, really cute. It's called Britta and the Beach Boy by Brittany Larson. And this is just the perfect start of summer read. It takes place in LA, and it's about a surfer who's very, very famous, and he wants to go to the Olympics. But he's actually from Australia, but he wants to compete for the United States because of like all these different things. So in order to do that, he needs citizenship, and the quickest way to do that is to get married. And then there's this girl who really wants to buy a coffee shop that's been offered to her, and she needs the money, and this surfer guy has a lot of money. They already kind of like each other, so they decide to do the whole marriage of convenience thing. So I liked it. This one was really different because I felt like the marriage took place like much later on in the book than normal. So we already had like this very good foundation of like they were already like fighting feelings for each other. And I don't want to spoil it, but it ended in such a great, surprising way, like a way I was not expecting, and it was just really fun. Ember Gold by Rochelle Nelson. So I finished this one up at the very beginning of May. Actually started it in April, but didn't quite have it finished. And I talked about this on, it's a video recommending books with mermaids, pirates, or dragons in it. So if you're really interested in those topics, then go check that one out. But this book was great. I absolutely love this. It's about a dragon that's it's about a girl that lives in this marsh. She's lived there her whole life, and she's like 16 or 17 when this story starts. So she lived there her whole life because she was actually hiding from this dragon, her and her dad. And one day he says they can actually leave the marsh. So a bunch of things end up happening. She ends up getting kidnapped by the dragon. And all I will say is that it really has Beauty and the Beast vibes. It's really, really fantastic. I love the way it's written because there's just like this air of secrecy about the entire book. Like she's just like dripping information that makes you just want to keep reading. So it was a really, really good time. Manic and Christmas River by Meg Muldoon. So this was on my TBR for June, but I couldn't wait. And so I read it early, and this is a part of a series called the Christmas River Mystery Series, and it's a little town in Oregon, like set in the mountains in the forest, and I just love the setting. I love going back there. I think this is like the 6th or 7th book. This one takes place at 4th of July, so it's like, it was just like a really good summer read, even though it's a little bit early. This one, I really like this story a whole lot. However, this one did have a little bit more language than normal. This book, this whole series, they say the D word and the H word. So for whatever reason, like the characters were like just saying it a little bit more often. I don't know why this book, it was like that. So I did notice that, but I still really, really enjoyed the whole story. It was a murder mystery this time. So one thing that I like about this series is that not every book has a murder in it. Like sometimes like it's somebody stole something or there was like arson. So it feels a little bit more realistic. Like this girl is not coming across a dead body every few months, because I feel like, you know, that like doesn't happen. You know, if it does, like that person would be like severely traumatized kind of thing. So in this case, it's actually been a couple of years since she's seen a dead body. So, you know, it just feels like a little more realistic. And it had to do with her grandfather was opening a brewery. It was like his life dream to do that. And then somebody gets murdered, and it's like they gotta solve it so he can still have his life's dream come true. And it was just like all the 4th of July vibes, all the summer vibes. It was just great. I loved it. The People of Sparks. This is the City of Ember book 2 by Jean Duprow. And I listened to this one on audiobook. This is a dystopian middle grade. I didn't realize that this series was so old. Like obviously I could tell it was a little bit old, but I guess it's like really kind of old. And so this one is just a continuation of the first one, and it's about this group of people that go underground. It's like they think it's the end of the world, and they've been living underground for like several generations until one day all the lights start flickering, and then they go out and they have to escape from the underground city because it's really dark down there, and they don't realize that there is like still a world above. And in this book, they escape and they find the world above, and they are encountering the people that live up there. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of drama going on with that, because these people are like, who are you? Where'd you come from? Go away, pretty much. So it was a fun read, and I need to continue and find out what happens next. The Moonleapers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. I was really interested in this book because I saw that it is a time travel middle grade, and I love time travel books, and this book was really fun. I also listened to this one on audiobook. I got it through my library on the Libby app, and it's basically, I wouldn't tell too much because I feel like if I start talking about it, it's gonna like spoil everything. But basically, is this girl, she goes to, her family moves like to another state to take care of their great aunt Hazel, and while she's there, her mother gives her an old phone, and she's like 11 or 12, and she's like, great, I got my own phone, you know. But it kind of gets a little weird when she's like getting all these mysterious messages from a mysterious person, like riddles and stuff. And like I said, all I will say is that there is time travel involved. So, and this was a really, really fun book. Okay, if you did not see my patriotic recommendations video, this is where I talked about these next 2 books that I read in May. Freedom's Light by Colleen Coble. This is such a crazy book. I feel like it's the kind of book that people are either going to love it or hate it kind of thing. Personally, I loved it for its unputdownableness, and I was so entertained. I could definitely see how some of the choices the characters made would probably really, really bother some people. And yes, they were bothersome. Like it was kind of a little disturbing, some of the choices they were making, but I could definitely see how like somebody that didn't have a lot of guidance or like mentorship in their life, they didn't have parents at this time, or she was like away from her parents, like they just didn't talk about these sorts of things, and how to handle men, basically, that she could make these very poor choices kind of thing. Anyway, I'm pretty sure the trigger warnings are out there somewhere. I feel like the trigger warnings would be very, very spoilerly. So I'll just say that the sister makes some very, very poor decisions as far as men go. So if you feel like everything is clean, like there's nothing like on page or anything, but if you feel like that might really bother you, then check out the trigger warnings, probably on Goodreads and stuff like that. Like, you can probably find it somewhere. But anyway, I love this book because I found it to be so much like, I just need to know. And so anyway, this is about a girl that is married to a lighthouse keeper, and he goes off to the Revolutionary War and is killed very, very quickly. And this is on the back, so it's not spoilery. So she's left to take care of the lighthouse by herself. And one night there's a shipwreck, and she, basically a pirate, washes up on shore, and she's got to like nurse him back to health. And the sister is causing a lot of drama, and yeah, if that interests you, like, you'll just have to read it and find out. Okay, last but not least, Ring of Secrets by Rosanna M. White. I absolutely loved this book. It is about the Culper spy ring, which is a real spy ring that happened back in the 1700s. George Washington created it. They are credited for kind of like turning the revolution in our favor. So one thing I have learned since my last video is that in the Culper spy ring, there were 5 men and 1 identified woman. They never found out who she really was. And so Rosanna M. White just kind of like took that, and she created a story for this woman, and that's what it is. And I thought this was just phenomenal. I mean, I loved it. It was so good. I loved the pacing. I loved what happened. Like, every part of it was just so good. It did take me a little bit of time to get used to the writing style, because she was really trying to like make it be like they were in the 1700s, and my modern brain is like that needs the simplicity kind of thing. But I realized like they didn't talk like that back then, so I think she was really trying to make it be like a true like historical novel. And so it took me like a chapter or two to really get into it, to really like be like, okay, I got it now. But once I did, it was unputdownable. Like, it was so good. I think it was my favorite patriotic book that I read this year. So if you're looking for a book to read for America's 250th birthday, then definitely check this one out. It's so good. All right, so that is all for my May books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you read any of these, or if any of them caught your eye, maybe a new TBR book for you. I'd love to hear about it. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.